we still haven't resolved anything. So we need to continue this conversation. Y'all wanna talk about this, I'm cool with it. We still ain't came up with a solution. Y'all wanna talk about this?
For this coming?
She changed some stuff.
We heard 3 solutions, we gotta pick one.
Which solution would you prefer?
And I'm sorry,
Me personally?
Yeah.
Well, let's vote on it in this room, let the room vote. All right, get a 3 solutions. Let everybody hear and see what the majority.
Hey, Zell.
We got Sister Missy.
Yeah, let's wait till,
Get 3 solutions, let's see what the majority come up with.
oh, sister. What you saying, Hezekiah?
I'm asking, bro, is there a verse that say we can't cook on Passover?
No, there's no verse that says
It's
that.
allowed on Saturday. Spur of the moment. Alligator.
That's all I had.
Yeah, they don't have no verse, they don't have no verse that says that.
But we don't see it, so I can't.
But it's a verse, it's a one verse that can
Right, because it said, when you read Deuteronomy 14.
I can't hear what you saying.
Hold on. I say it's a few verses that say we can't cook on the Sabbath, right?
There's only one verse that says that. There's only one verse that says that.
Yeah, but you got it's good.
You got to read what it said on Saturday.
Yeah, you're right.
What's that spot?
Right, it says
You
not
know that we can't say that we
I
can't.
think it's speaking to
Well,
the
we
end
can't say that we
time.
can't do something because of a lack of
Praying
verse.
on Saturday or something.
Childbirth.
That's in Matthew 24.
About childbirth.
But he's talking about the destruction of Jerusalem.
That's what I'm saying, why does he say, I mean, because you have to hear the first part of our conversation, why does he say we hope it don't happen on Saturday?
Because here's the problem. It's just like with the Maccabees, right? The Maccabees were in a situation. I don't know if you read that. I know you said you don't really read the Apocrypha like that.
I have since I read, that's the one I read.
Oh, you read? Okay, so
It needed to be a movie.
So, yeah, sure. Now, in that, I don't know if you got to that point, but there was a point in time where the heathen decided to make war with us on the Sabbath.
On the Sabbath.
And you had 2 groups of people.
I read
Just read
those,
it.
that's what I
All right,
read.
so they had one group, they was like, look, we not profaning the Sabbath, we will die. In our,
And
in
the
our
other one was like,
obedience to God.
we got to defend ourselves.
And the other one said, if we do this, if this moves forward, looking ahead of time, the heathen could just say,
Every Sabbath.
we just gonna go to war with them on the
Every
Sabbath.
Sabbath, yeah.
Right, so then we all just gonna be dead at that point. So they made a decision. You can couple that with the point that Brother Roger made later, when he said, it is good to do well on the Sabbath. Remember, the Sabbath, we were not made for the Sabbath, the Sabbath was made for us.
Correct.
Okay, so when Christ talks about that, he's making the point that we looking at the Sabbath wrong in a way. Okay, or at least at that time, they were looking at the Sabbath wrong. As opposed to looking at it from the strict concept of what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a day where you can refresh yourself and get away from
Commanded to do nothing.
Right. How you break that?
Yeah,
Like, commanded to do
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
So that's the point that Rob was making. I think that's a pretty
No,
that's a pretty
Rob
relevant
made
point.
the point with Yeshua, that's why I mentioned Judas.
Yeah, no, he did make that point though.
Well,
He made that point.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the same point.
I guess that's like what Sunday Christians say, we all got different interpretations, because to that same point, commanded to do nothing to me means I am commanded not to cook.
Right.
Because Passover falls on that day, does not overlap it.
Now, but here's what we missing. Here's what we missing. It doesn't say not to cook.
It says don't kindle the fire.
Cooking is an application.
Correct. It's
So
work.
you need to light the fire to not just cook. This is why I was telling you, this is why some people, they shut their whole house down, right? They don't, no lights, okay? They don't even drive. They have some brothers, they will not drive on the Sabbath, okay? Because what we're doing now is, this is an application. It says not to kindle any fire. What do you need fire for? You need fire to combust things, to make things spark. So now anything that sparks, anything that flickers or electricity, somebody could take that route, right? That's an interpretation, like you said. But that's why we was going there. You still in Exodus 35 right quick?
I am.
All right, so in verse 3, it says not to kindle any fire throughout your habitations on the Sabbath. Again, if we're looking at this from the standpoint of how we would have been doing things if living in the land, nobody would be in their own habitation in the first place, because everybody would be in Jerusalem.
In the first place, right?
Right, so now this law gives us what not to do, kindle a fire, and where not to do it, which is in your place of residence. Now, again, you can make the point about one Sabbath trumping the other, whatnot. We can make those points, this will just be a circular conversation. What you said you want, and I'm with you, 100%. What's the solution? So I think, like what Rob said, we should put the 3 solutions on the table, and then we can just say, hey, look, we don't have to talk. You just say, I favor this decision, I favor this decision, or I favor this decision. So we just lay out all 3, and then we can all do it like that, and that way, this time around, okay, we can have a cohesiveness about what's going to occur. Is that fair to everyone? All right. So that means the 3 solutions are such. This year, we had a conversation about when the new moon occurs, blah, blah, blah. We're like, look, most people see it this way, most people see it that way. It ended up that the Passover lands on the Sabbath, all right, April 12th. You look on your calendar, Passover is on the Sabbath. Problem is, we know, many of us in here, we already don't cook, we don't do certain things on the Sabbath, right? So how does that reckon with Passover landing on it? Here are the 3 solutions. One, you can just look at it like the Sabbath doesn't really override the Passover, and you can cook for this time around. That's the first solution. So this would be you cooking on a Saturday, which is something that you don't usually do, but because it's Passover, you're doing it because it's Passover.
As though it's a Wednesday.
Correct.
Totally disregard the Sabbath. That's
Right, this is the first thing, okay? Second thing is you can try to work your way around it. You can cook before, you can cook after. On the Sabbath, we can still gather, we can still do everything else, right? All the things. Early, so if somebody wants to go with that first solution and come, they can, and then for those who want to go with the second solution, they could just, it's basically like a combination of the first 2 things, all right? It's basically on an individual basis. If you want to do what you want, however you want to do it, that's fine. Nobody's gonna throw stones at you, okay?
Right.
For either decision.
But then, that
There
means
was
there is a 4th
4 solutions.
option.
There was 4 options then.
Okay,
Kermit
that's a 4th
mentioned-
option.
Kermit mentioned if we came together on the 12th to take the Passover, do it as
Is the 12th or 14th?
the 12th.
The 12th. There's a 14th day on the 12th.
Yes.
The 14th and the 13th.
On that Saturday,
On
come
that
on that Saturday.
To take to do the lesson on Passover,
6
take
o'clock.
unleavened bread and wine, and then the following day do the feast. So during the day, the whole day.
So that's a 4th option, you said.
That we had.
If the
Well, that would be
14th
that would be
day
the
of
third
the
option.
first month falls Saturday, April 12th, we come in on the 14th day, we have a lesson on Passover, we take bread and wine like what the Sunday church would call communion, if you will. We have communion or Eucharist or whatever it is, and then we disassemble and come back on the 15th day, as Leviticus 23 states, and have a holy convocation and eat, drink, lie, meal. That's the 4th option.
So, y'all heard the options, okay?
Prepare early.
Yeah, we can just raise our hands.
He say sign one.
In Exodus 12, I'm going there.
Put a shot, put a sign, I mean,
Well,
just
in
check one
Exodus
part.
12 is, it give us
Cook
instructions
cook before,
on what to eat for
take on
Passover.
12, come back on 13.
So, I know we're supposed to have bitter herbs, the unleavened bread, and.
Cook before, take on the 12, come back on 13.
That's
Just
prior
check
to the
one.
Messiah. Because
You
Messiah
don't have
came to Passover and kind of
We,
overrode.
you know, people
That's
usually
when the
be
bread,
like,
this is my body, this is my
about to wrap this up.
eat, drink, and remember.
Just about to wrap this
In
up.
my opinion, that overall.
It's not gonna last, it's not gonna last 2 hours.
Mention wine, I don't think it mentioned wine like the blood, because it was the blood of the lamb.
Blood of the lamb is.
Israel.
Yeah, the wine was over the
Cook
door.
on, cook
Yeah.
before,
You know,
come back on the 12th, 2 days, 2 days or one,
Yeah.
you just put it in the check.
what does it do?
I'm getting to the end of it, that's what I'm doing.
Man, we had to have a raise of the hands.
That's what it do.
Yeah, we was gonna do a little. She like,
Yeah, 2 days.
Whatever y'all say. I mean, but you got, I'm the same way. Whatever y'all say, I'm gonna be there. If we gonna kill the weekly Sabbath and eat and cook, I'm gonna be right
Well,
there.
actually, you mentioned something earlier that, to me is very important in terms of your house life.
that's
I know you may have some, difficulties getting,
Yes.
So I don't want to, I wouldn't want to make a decision, being that it's subjective in nature. I wouldn't want to make a decision that would potentially put you at more odds in that situation. So.
Because I'm not gonna cook on Saturday. Because like what you brought out in Exodus 35, to that point, it's less about the fire and more about the seasoning and the wick. I just don't work. Because the restriction for the weekly Sabbath is don't work. You know what I'm saying? Don't work. The fire part is what it takes to create a fire that is work. That's why the man was teaching. You know what I mean? It's what it took. Turning a pilot on is not kindling a fire, in my opinion. A microwave, a toaster.
But if a fire started, I don't see how that's different.
Because that's not work. Rubbing two wood sticks, creating the fire.
But what you just said, in Exodus 35, it
It's not
doesn't say
You
that,
shall kindle no fire.
right, it doesn't say the work that you're doing is what's,
You're right, you're right.
is what's causing him not to want you to light a
I
fire.
alluded to
But
that.
that's,
You're
but
absolutely
that's
right.
what Kindle means, when you have to start it, so in order to start a fire, you have to,
Right, but the thing is,
All
right,
right, where you at?
you could start, how you start it don't matter.
Oh, yeah, you gonna-
If it said not to kindle a fire, the point is the fire shouldn't even be kindled in the first place, no matter how it's kindled. You could start a fire doing this all day, like I'm sure you've seen the people on Making It Afraid, it take you a long time to do that. Or you could have certain alternative methods that are a bit faster. These people weren't dumb during that time. They had a lot of efficient ways. They could start a fire without doing that much work and piling up a whole bunch of sticks together. Like they could.
7 on 2 days, 2 on the night before, and 1 on cook on.
Okay, so then problem solved then.
I just want to know, I'm supposed to know who's here.
Nah, I can't.
I just want to know.
7 on 2 days, we have 2 days.
4 o'clock evening.
Oh, you ain't sitting there yet? Nah, you gotta vote, my sister.
You got to have an opinion, you know, I mean, if it doesn't matter.
If 7 people say, cook
2
on
days is come on the 14th day on that
take a
Saturday,
Passover.
have a Passover lesson, take bread and wine, and then come back Saturday and do Sunday, and do all the cooking and all the eating.
Oh, yeah, I prefer that
Oh,
too.
hold on.
Look at her. She said, look, make it 8.
Now, the question with that would be, if that's a overwhelming majority, the question would be, what happens next Passover when it's a Tuesday and a Wednesday? Do we do it this way? Is this gonna be the way, are we establishing now how we're gonna do our Passover going forward?
To me-
Or is this just an occurrence?
Hold on. To me, that makes more sense scripturally.
Coming back the second day?
Yes.
The 2 days.
Because if the 14th day was a Friday, this would work. If next year, the 14th day, we agree, the 14th day or whatever day we're gonna keep Passover is on a Friday, then we can't come back that Saturday and do our.
Well, that's why I said,
It's gonna change.
that's why I said you could easily just change the date. Right, yeah, that is no problem.
But the only thing you still gotta keep is for the count them 7 Sabbaths to the.
We're gonna turn on, we'll turn up that Friday
The
though.
date for Pentecost to land right on a Sunday.
But if it land on
The
a Friday.
Pentecost gonna always land on a Sunday because you don't start counting the 50 days of Pentecost
Yeah,
until Saturday.
Right.
And then the morrow after is
Yeah.
Pentecost.
So
regardless of
technically,
which one-
it wouldn't matter what day the Passover land on.
Yeah, 'cause you come next
Yeah,
Saturday.
it's,
After the
it's,
7 days, and then let's say that there's a 3-day gap, tomorrow after the Sabbath, so 7 days Holy Convocation, that land on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday is when you start counting.
So we coming together Saturday for the Passover Passover lesson, then toward the evening, 6 o'clock,
Take the break.
6 o'clock, what we talking?
6 o'clock?
Yeah, evening time,
Six.
whatever.
6:30.
Something like that.
All right, everybody go home. Get
6 o'clock, let's just make it call these
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Come
We'll come
together,
together,
take a lesson.
and we'll reiterate this.
And everybody go home and rest good for the next day.
Yeah, so
Come
that way
back
we
at
can
3
see-
o'clock
so that
the
way we
next
can
day.
see-
3 o'clock.
And start preparing, or do we come with prepared food at that
Oh,
time?
we cooking.
We start cooking, everybody start cooking green
I'm
beans,
like-
we gonna slaughter his dog.
We gonna start cooking everything.
Nah, I mean, I gotta burn them. Hold on, I gotta burn.
I think the
you gotta
meats and
burn them.
things that can be cooked outside, yeah, but if you
Yeah.
have green beans.
Yeah, you
cook
bring
that at
green
home,
beans or
and
mac
then
and
you have
cheese,
burgers.
you can just bring it there.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
ain't got
that's
to.
what
The
we
meats,
did
the meats
last
and
time.
stuff, y'all.
Yeah.
The only
So
thing,
meats, if we having
Yeah.
fish or whatever, we gonna fry the fish, I want my meat right there.
So I'm saying, we need to.
I want mine come, I want my lamb coming out medium well,
Yeah.
right before it get brown.
Ain't that fish coming out hot?
Yeah.
So that's something we should start early, so everybody can hold the appetite. To 3 o'clock, man, you could been ate something else, you know
Well,
what I'm saying?
whoever we decide cooking the meat, you get there a little early and start cooking.
I'll be
Everybody
there,
start
hey,
coming
look,
at
I'm gonna
3.
tell you right now, I'll be there early anyway, if you
Yeah,
don't mind.
alright.
Are we gonna have another lesson for unleavened bread? Or
Short.
we just gonna
It's
show up and
something
get
short
out?
though. It's
So
something
that's
short.
They got, I got.
We're gonna have a Passover lesson and an unleavened
Yeah,
bread lesson.
short though. Short.
Passover, unleavened
Emphasis on short.
bread by
Uh,
myself.
Everybody will come together, everybody loud.
But say, I mean, I got a guest coming, I don't know that about Passover, he just wanna learn, he wanna teach his daughter the feast days, so I mean, at least teach a guest who not familiar with what
He
they
coming
do.
Friday?
He coming
I
Passover,
mean,
every feast day.
All right, so he coming, so he gonna learn.
He coming Passover, unleavened bread.
Passover gonna be a long lesson.
Yeah, we're gonna have strangers, we have to lose.
Yeah, you gotta have a long lesson for
That's
Passover.
the closest thing to scripture we have.
But that feast, that, the next day, you know, have a little something short, everybody get together, give it to the Lord, bless the food, got to bless it. And then everybody cut out, do it, you know, having fun, drink, if they drink, whatever.
The key to the feast, we got unleavened bread.
Yes.
Gotta keep
Oh,
unleavened bread.
yeah, I'm gonna have unleavened bread, and somebody else, I think, we making unleavened bread, yeah. So we're gonna have unleavened bread, thing on. I'm gonna try to make cakes again, that's the only time my pies come out right. Unleavened bread, I'm gonna try it. But it ain't right to go in the dumpster.
Oh, 11 pies.
Yeah, I do unleavened pies and stuff too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that, I mean, I think that sounds good with everybody, so we'll just do it like that, and to be honest with you, it sounds like we just gonna move like that the rest of the duration, that make the most
But
sense.
if it land on a Friday, we can cut up
Yeah,
on
we,
a Friday.
we
so,
could, we
I
could
mean,
easily just change, like I said, that's
Yeah.
the easy solution,
We
we
can
just change the
do
date.
it, you know.
So, I think that's a conclusion to this. But I don't wanna take out too much time, it's already 3:30.
Time for the also lesson.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, so if it land on Friday.
We can just change the date.
Okay.
Remember, I don't know if you remember, but, this actually happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
And we ended up, I think that was the time that we did it on April 1st. Like one day, we did it on April 1st one day. That was,
That's what we did at home.
yes. Yeah, we was at Sister Yehuda's house.
But this is what we did though, like people that cook mac and cheese or something, we cook it that day and just bring it to the class.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah,
That's no
like that,
problem.
we just, you know.
It don't
get 'em a
matter.
little early, we'll
Yeah,
give 'em a little
it don't
early.
even matter at that point, because it's a
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah.
You could cook it when you come, you could cook it before. Whatever is your preference. Or, let me say, whatever is your preference, as well as considering that, you know, if you're gonna cook there, you're gonna be cooking at Brother Rob's place. And so you wanna be considerate of that, and mindful of that. So,
Like, you can prepare, I mean, you know, if y'all expecting some meat, you could, like the Saturday night, you wanna prepare the sides and we just cook the meats at the house, you know, grills and fried stuff, you know what I'm saying?
so let's just do it like that then. Anybody who is on the menu, or who is making something that's on the menu. Yeah, no, my bad, I said that wrong.
I mean, we got to establish the menu, who's gonna bring what.
We're gonna do all that later.
Yeah, all that to be
The
decided.
point is, to make this easy, meat, we'll do that day, okay? Anything flesh related.
Size.
If somebody wanna do some sides, I don't know, pasta, whatever,
Prepare
I
that and bring
don't,
it.
whatever, it don't matter.
Candy,
Prepare it at home and then bring it, okay? That's it. That's how we've always done it. We do that, like I said, before in the past, and even when it landed on the Sabbath, I would wait until the sun go down and we do it like that.
We already got them trays, roasted trays.
Yeah, that
When you
ain't
put the
nothing.
fire
We
on,
did that.
you got all that?
Yeah, we've done that plenty of times. Actually, we've done that every time.
I mean, but y'all have some in
Already?
stored somewhere.
I don't know. I never cooked anything. I just cooked the meat.
About like the burners and the,
Yeah, the burners, with the tray, we put the pans on. I'm just saying, do we have to buy it? That's all I'm asking.
we usually get a few.
I usually get something
We probably gonna
about
need
3 or 4.
From your mom, so we won't have to buy it.
So tell your people that come, your boy come from out of town, football players, just tell them it's 2 days to turn up.
Yeah, I know. He know. He know. So
I even have a little comedy show with
that's
Hezekiah.
Hezekiah.
Yeah, do a little comedy, you know, do a little comedy. And we can bring our tomatoes and everything. Oh, it's green tomatoes. Not no soft.
All right, so we got that established, right? We good?
2 days.
2 days.
My brother. Yeah.
That kind of kills everything.
Yeah, that, you know.
That kind of, everybody's
Everybody's
satisfied.
satisfied.
You just gotta come for 2 days.
There you go.
We gotta go to Plank Grove for 2 days.
Right. And that shouldn't be no problem anyway. Okay. So. All right. So now.
Trump gas be $6 a gallon, like.
All right. So now we gonna do if Brother Asa ready, bro, we can go ahead and start the lesson.
Shalom, everybody. Hope all is well with everyone. Go ahead and get started. We'll let Zephaniah lead all the prayer, and then Brother Gabe will do the commandments. Let's start with that.
All right. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Okay, if you don't mind,
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt not have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Father will not hold them guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is in thy neighbor's.
thank you for that, Brother Gabe. So, to begin, today's lesson will be called, or we can just write it down as leadership, accountability, and faithfulness in times of uncertainty. And what I'm going to go over today is Exodus 30, 31, 34, and 35, and bits and pieces of it. Obviously, it has many layers, but the central theme is leadership and accountability. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what's the title?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The title is Leadership, Accountability, and Faithfulness in Times of Uncertainty. And I will be going over Exodus 30, 31, 34, and 35. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it, but I want to stick with the central theme of being accountability and leadership. Theme I wanted to create was essentially about knowing what to do when things go wrong, how to respond when facing pressure, and then the consequences of losing sight on our mission. Right? So, first, let's go to Exodus 30. And I'm going to go over a little bit about the census and instructions about the tabernacle that the Most High gave unto Moses, for Moses to share to the nation and the children of Israel. Here it is. Okay. So, as you all know, I like the audience to interact, so I'll open up with an engaging question. And then I would like for some of us to respond, maybe 2 or 3. It's already 3:37, which is no problem, but I just want some interaction, that's all. So my first question is, have you ever been in a situation where you had to lead or make a decision and the pressure felt unbearable? And how did you react? Just anybody can answer, just about 2 or 3 people will suffice, it's not a problem. But have you ever been in a situation where you had to lead or make a decision and the pressure felt unbearable, and how did you react?
The first time I actually had to lead the congregation, a few years back. And what I did was, I just kept going.
You talking about when we were still on Greenwell Springs?
Speak up a little bit, Gabe, I couldn't hear you, what you say?
I said when I actually had to teach for the first time a few years back, it was,
A lot of pressure?
yes, it was. And what I did was, I tried not to think much about it and just kept doing it anyway. Just kept, leading.
From that time then to now, you think you've made, I guess, proper progress as far as confidence and pressure kind of settled down a little bit?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, the first time I actually had to do my first lesson here, it was basically starting over again because it's a bigger crowd. Unfamiliar faces, but you don't think much about it, you know what I'm saying? It'll be good, at least in my opinion. I feel like I did better the second time I, did my lesson.
You consider yourself a proper leader?
A proper leader, I'll say I'll get there.
Anybody else want to share? One more? Brother Rick?
The same.
Same.
The same.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Thank y'all for that. Let's go
All
to
my
Exodus.
words get blurred when I start talking to y'all.
Your words get blurred?
Yes, all my words get blurred in the Bible.
Nervousness.
Yes. Get the shakes.
But you still up here and you like Gabe said, you just continue to do it, right? So let's go to Exodus 30, and I would like to read 11 through 16 to begin. And I'll go ahead and read it. It's not, well, Zeph, do you mind getting read through this?
Yes, no problem.
The book of Exodus, chapter 30, 11 through 16. And again, like I mentioned, I want to first start with the census and instructions about the tabernacle that were given to Moses. And Moses then proceeded to give instructions to the nation of Israel. So I would like to cover that first.
All right, this is Exodus 30, verse 11 through 16. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, When thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto the Lord when thou numberest them, that there be no plague among them when thou numberest them. This they shall give every one that passeth among them that are numbered, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs. And half shekel shall be the offering of the Lord. Everyone that passeth among them that are numbered, from 20 years old and above, shall give an offering unto the Lord. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, when they give an offering unto the Lord to make an atonement for your souls. And thou shalt take the atonement money of the children of Israel, and shalt appoint it for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, that it may be a memorial unto the children of Israel before the Lord to make an atonement for your souls.
Thank you. So the key points for that are 3, and if you all find more than that, then please share. There's not a right or wrong answer. So every Israelite man 20 years and older had to contribute half a shekel. This was represented as a ransom for their soul, a symbolic act of atonement, right? And the offering was equal for all, rich and poor, as it states in verse 15. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, right? So it was required from the rich and the poor, showing that every single soul that was within the nation of Israel were equal, as far as what was required from the Most High, right? What was required from the Lord. So I ask you now, second question I'll ask is, why do you all think that the Most High required a payment when taking a census? And what lesson does this teach us about responsibility?
What was the first part?
Why do you think the Most High required a payment when taking a census for the nation of Israel? Because remember, right?
For the less fortunate.
Did you say, Brother Rick?
For the less fortunate.
The less fortunate, okay. Let's say no right or wrong answers. Have a discussion.
In verse 16, it say, to appoint for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation.
That it may be a memorial unto the children of Israel before the Lord, right? Okay. So, anybody else? So the half a shekel, right? It necessarily wasn't a tax, but a reminder rather of that our lives belonged to the Most High, right? Just like Yeshua said that he didn't choose us. I mean, we didn't choose him, he chose us, right? Same with the Most High. He chose Israel. We did not choose him. So whatever's required, we must keep. And we have to think about it as the half a shekel wasn't necessarily a tax. Like we mentioned, it was a sign of atonement, a reminder that our lives again belong to the Most High. And it was also, the second part of the question was, what lesson does this teach us about responsibility specifically within the requirements that we had to keep? Because you gotta think about it, right? We had a huge role, right? This wasn't just something that the Most High just chose us to say, hey, you know, y'all are special, y'all are peculiar, you know, live your lives as you should. There were laws, like Brother Kerman had stated, when the brothers were speaking earlier. There's laws, you know, that's why we're in this thing, because we take pride in the laws and the commandments and the statutes that we must keep, right? Because that signifies our relationship and our responsibility that we must keep in order to please the Most High, right? In order to do His will, because without even comprehending any of that, then we just walking blindly, right? So it was a spiritual responsibility as well as an atonement. And a person or an Israelite must contribute to the nation and acknowledge their role within the community. It's very important, right? There's levels to this, obviously, like Brother Zeph had mentioned, even in Israelite communities. There's levels to it, organization, right? Standards. And today, I would say that reminds us that we are accountable for our own obedience to the Most High and for the well-being of our own people, right? That's one thing that before we even gathered together, that was really brought to me from the sisters and the brothers before we gathered together, as far as nation building and how important it is to go after our own rather than seek other people, right? And try to give them this gospel, this word. It's very important to build our nation, starting with us first. Would you all agree? Okay. So we can move forward. Brother Zeph, could you give me the next section? Well, first of all, sorry, did we have any questions or comments about that first part so far? The second question I wrote, what lesson does this teach us about responsibility? You got something to say, Sister Lee? Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
Why at the age of 20, you didn't come off some show?
I'd say it's the same. I wouldn't want to say regulation, but requirement that Moses gave in the laws that were required for war. You had to be at least 20 years old to even go to war, right, as a man. And I think that's just consistency across the board as far as what the Most High requires, not necessarily what he requires as far as what a man is. I believe what a man is when you know right from wrong and you understand the consequences. Obviously children, they like to tempt. They know when things they're doing are wrong, not necessarily too good. But as far as why the punishment was incurred, they may not understand that. But when you get to a point where you comprehend not only what you did, but what's going to come after it, then I deem you as a woman, and this is my opinion, I deem you as a woman and as a man. So I think the Most High views it that way. But as far as the age of being 20, I think it's just consistency across the board, even when you speak about war and what's required, the age requirement for war, for men to go to war. So I think it's just the same. Did anybody else have something to say? It's actually a good question. No? Cool. Brother Zeph, could you give me Exodus 30, 17 through 21, please?
This is Exodus chapter 30, verse 17 through 21.
And this section can be written down as purity before service. We must be pure before we even, obviously, then you must be, you had to be pure in order to even consult the Most High, right? Especially the priest. That was one thing they had to do. They couldn't go in tainted any fashion, form, or way at all. In order to even consult the Most High, for him to even listen to you, you had to be pure, right? So purity before service, Brother Zeph.
Verse 17, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Thou shalt also make a laver of brass, and his foot also of brass, to wash withal, and thou shalt put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, and thou shalt put water therein. For Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat, when they go into the tabernacle of the congregation. They shall wash with water, that they die not. Or when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn offerings made by fire unto the Lord, so they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they die not. And it shall be a statute forever to them, even to him and to his seed throughout their generations.
So although we understand that there's no more ordained Levitical priests, still the purpose of this message still remains, right? Although the circumstances are different, the game remains the same. You must be pure before we consult the Most High, right? So before the priests could even serve, they had to, what did they have to do? What did Brother Zeph just read, right? They had to wash their hands and feet in the bronze laver. This was a mandatory ritual for the Levitical priests. And if they skipped this step, then it says in verse 21 that they die, well, if they did this, they die not. So obviously if they didn't do it, they would die. And it also symbolizes the necessity of spiritual purification, as I mentioned before, Brother Zeph and I read, before even approaching and consulting the Most High. So, third question, as we observe this layer, is how does this concept specifically of cleansing before service apply to us today? And what does it mean to you all to be spiritually cleansed? Any responses?
I'm sorry, repeat that question again.
No problem. So what we just read in verse, Exodus chapter 30, verses 17 through 21, how does this concept of cleansing before service apply to us today? Like I mentioned, there's no more Levitical priest here, ordained Levitical priest. And what does it mean to you all to be spiritually cleansed? What are some ways or ideas that you can bring forth to the congregation to share?
I think an example, kind of like when, I guess an example like when Christ, he said before you bring your prayer to the altar, make amends with your brother first. So that's kind of like cleansing yourself before you bring a solution to Christ, to the altar, a prayer request, you know what I'm saying? If you got out with your brother or something, so I think, that's kind of like cleansing yourself.
Yeah, because if not, then you still have that animosity or even hate, if you want to, go there in your heart. So even when you begin to open your mouth, we understand the power of the tongue, right? And then as soon as you say, I call upon the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whether that be through your heart, your mind, your heart is your mind, right? But my point is, as soon as you begin to open that mind frame, that thought, it's very important to be cleansed, right? Because he says that he knows our thoughts and he knows our heart, the range of our hearts, right? So it's very, very important to try our best, especially in these times where Satan is working overtime, to be pure, right? People don't always do the things that they say they're going to do, and sometimes it upsets us. Sometimes we feel some type of way. Sometimes that we end up casting judgment, right? But everybody has their own lot. Everybody has their own desires. And everybody has their own will that the Most High will put upon each and every one of us. So in order to even fulfill that properly, in order to consult the Most High, and even have a proper relationship with Him, I believe that we have to try our best to even be pure, purify ourselves. So obviously, first of all, anybody else want to respond?
Confess your sins to the Father, and ask for forgiveness. As a way to cleansing yourself.
Would you classify that as atonement as well?
Yeah.
Spiritual atonement. So we understand that purity, right? Surely it isn't just about physical washing then, is it? It's about preparing our hearts before serving the Most High. So today, as we all mentioned just now, we cleanse ourselves through repentance, prayer, and obedience. Those are the biggest things, right? We cleanse ourselves through repentance, prayer, and obedience. Essential components of purity, cleaning ourselves and ensuring that we're pure spiritually, not only physically, but physically. Because remember, Brother Zephaniah just read what the priest did. And I find that really, really interesting. Maybe we can dive into that another day. But even with these priests washing their hands and feet before they consulted the Most High, Brother Kermit said something. He said another thing before the sisters came in about how he noticed that the Nation of Islam, how organized they are. And when, there was a time where, although it was wrong, but I was participating in that, one thing I found very interesting was before we even went into that building, the mosque, you had to wash your hands, your feet, your eyes, your ears, everything. And I'll be honest, even after doing that, I felt like I just took a deep breath, right? So I would like to maybe dive into that because obviously we know that they're imposters. Whoever's on the live, it is what it is, but it's the truth, right? So they took everything from us. So another thought I've always had even when the Most High woke me up and transitioned me to understand who I really was, I obviously thought in that moment, like, wow, is that something that Israelites, that us, that our ancestors participated in before we also consulted to the Most High? Because it's obviously deeper than just spiritual as well, it's also physical, you know? That way I felt when everything was washed and clean before I even opened my mouth to consult whoever I thought I was consulting. In that moment, it felt different. I felt like something was transitioning in me before I was even comfortable to speak. So I just wanna put that thought out there, that's all. So, moreover, continuing, just like the priest couldn't rush into the Most High's presence carelessly, neither should we. We must always approach him with reverence. Did anybody want to respond to that before we move on to the third part? Just to everything that we just spoke about, all of us. Did you have anything that you want to say?
In regards to the washing of the hands, I think Matthew 15 is good.
Let's go with Matthew 15.
That's the spot.
Where we at, Sister A?
Let's start with verse 1.
Stephanie, Mark?
You just want to keep going, or you want to stop somewhere in particular? Sister A? You want to stop at a certain point, or just
After
keep
1
on?
and 8.
Okay. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 1. Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, Whosoever shall say to his father or mother, It is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have you made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth near unto me with their mouth, and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
That's it.
Okay.
I think that's a great, fantastic, I didn't even have it in my notes, Sister Hayes.
That doesn't make the point, though, we need to keep reading.
Oh, go ahead, my bad.
Verse 10. And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defile a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth that defile a man. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into a ditch.
That's good. That's what you saw, sister? That was
Can you expound on that?
One of y'all can.
Good. Yeah, so first I want to go to verse 2, where it says, Why do you disciples transgress the tradition of the elders when these Pharisees were challenging and mocking Yeshua? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. So first and foremost, obviously, we understand that the washing of our hands, the washing of our feet before we speak to the Most High, or the angels that He has watching over us in hopes that they send them our prayer to Him, we understand that He doesn't leave His throne. We understand first and foremost that these were traditions that were passed on, right? Not necessarily laws that were ordained through Torah specifically. Secondly, in verse 9 it says, "But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines and commandments of men." So again, Yeshua expounds on that notion of you all are worried about the traditions of men, but aren't even keeping Torah properly and what's mandated actually to do in order to even understand what the law requires of you, right? And then, Brother Kermit, if you could expound on the rest of that, because honestly, my mind, it didn't go blank, but it.
10 and 11, a guy hit me at work the other week. He had brought some food for everybody, and he had catfish, and I told him, I don't eat fish, I don't eat catfish. He knew I didn't eat pork, he brought me some pork tamales one time, so sorry, brother. So it's this time he finally asked me why. And when I told him, because God said don't eat pork and catfish. Well, what does it say there? It says in the book of Leviticus. He said, well, that's the Old Testament. I said, well, show me in the New Testament where the stuff in the Old Testament don't matter. And this way.
They went right here.
So verse 11, that's why when we stopped at 9, verse 11 kind of really expresses that point. That is the point of not that which goes into the mouth defiles a man, meaning if I go outside in the field, I go work on my car and then walk right in and hit the chicken box. You know what I mean? That's absolutely dirty and filthy. I should wash my hands before I do that. But like you just said, there is no commandment that says I must. So Christ here is kind of like, you know, why are you bothering me with things that aren't commandment driven? Yes, that's nasty to reach in right after I finish changing my transmission and get into the chicken box and everybody gonna be eating out of it, but it's not what goes into my mouth, meaning the filth or the dirt off my hands that goes into my mouth that defiles me, but what comes out of my mouth, speaking more to how I deal with people or how I represent myself around people.
Or even having
That is far more important than some grime from my motor in my mouth.
Or even like when I think Brother Ricky or Brother Gabe, one of y'all said, I think it was Brother Rob, yeah, said something about Yeshua saying making amends with your brother, right, before you even speak outwardly. So it also depends on what's inwardly.
Yeah, that's
right?
what matters.
That's what matters, right?
Yeah.
Before you speak outwardly, then you need to, of course, look inwardly.
Correct. That is the point of the entire parable, you know, of the entire story.
Brother Rob?
I was gonna elaborate on verse 3 and 4.
Okay.
Where it say, but he answered and said unto them, why do you also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, honor the father and the mother. So he started quoting the commandment, and I think that's what really cleanses. That's the washing. You know what I'm saying? The keeping of the commandments, the law. That's the washing part that matters more out of this verse than anything. You know what I'm saying? I see it. That's the only thing that cleans your soul to get to the kingdom, you know what I'm saying? Is what he quotes right there.
100%. Sister Hale?
First John.
I was just saying, reading up into 20 with John before.
Yeah, that's good.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Reading up.
We're not with the 20.
Okay, so we stopped at
But
13.
y'all live out. Very valuable thing.
Well, see, that's why I was asking if we wanted to stop. So we left off at verse 13. Well, let me read verse 13 again. All right, I'm gonna just read 13 again. But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into a ditch. Verse 15. Then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. And Jesus said, are ye also yet without understanding? Do not ye understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast into the drop? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witnesses, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashen hands defile not, amen.
Just give you some germs.
You just nasty.
Yeah, just give you some germs.
Him reiterating the earlier point
Yeah.
and expounding on what he said earlier.
I do wanna point out, if somebody ever does that, that's what you should read to.
Yeah.
Continue, I
19,
did,
yeah.
I just didn't want, I mean, cause it was kind of restating.
I do that all the time.
Well, he had to get, 19 to 20, it wouldn't have made the point.
Because you have to remember,
Yeah,
he just quoted the fifth commandment in Exodus.
In Exodus,
That's
right.
in the Old Testament.
Right.
So to say that, you know, you can eat catfish and pork,
Yeah, that is not what this is saying.
that you can now do that because Christ said it's not gonna go.
And another spot they
the
go
same spot he's quoting the law.
to, rise, Peter, kill and eat.
Yeah, Acts 10,
Yeah.
Cornelius.
Yeah, I had to.
I'm like, man, that ain't got nothing to do with no food.
That's
right
exactly where he went after I wiped him down with them.
Right.
Well, what about Cornelius? Well, he said, no, but what about in the book of Acts?
That's
Nothing.
Well, I think to the point really is here, I think by you mentioning the things that y'all were doing in the, what was the Nation of Islam, was it? Whatever it was.
Yes, yeah.
When you know, they were saying how, you know, before you come into the sanctuary, you know, you wash your hands, wash your feet, wash your ears, eyes, and whatnot. Or let me ask, do you think that there's a correlation with doing that to this that Christ is speaking to the Pharisees about?
The correlation, what, being the physical act of cleansing yourself? I'd say yes, because I don't think it would have been a discussion at all, or even a challenge to Yeshua if it didn't exist at all, or if it wasn't tradition by any means. I don't think it would have been, why would it be in there?
No, what I'm saying is the participation by, you know, whoever this group was, all right, and of course the custom is to make the people do these things before they enter. When I say correlation, I mean, we see Christ here is, in a way, going against what the Pharisees are doing here,
Yeah.
right? So, if that was like some type of an institution, would Christ be also against that as well, seeing as though that point was raised earlier?
I don't think you can tell someone who is completely 100% pure already to do anything else to make himself more pure. And I also believe that the people around him who might have been tainted in some sort, even being around him, and then later after he passed, possessing some of his powers, they had to also be pure. So even being around him, so really even telling him that was there was no point. You're talking to the living embodiment of Torah. He's already pure. There's nothing you can tell him. He's done no wrong. So you, on the other hand, you're a man. You're just a man. So sure, you doing these things from the traditions of men would behoove you to possibly consider keeping those traditions. But you're telling someone who is literally the walking embodiment of Torah to challenge him and then say, okay, well, why don't you and your disciples do this? There's no point in that. There's no need for him to do that.
I think there's a greater correlation to what the nation was doing and what the nation had them doing, to your point in Exodus 20, than it is to this one.
Ask me that again?
The washing of the hands and the face and the things you were saying and caused you to take a deep breath, that's interesting. That's that would have a greater correlation to what we were reading in Exodus 20, when the priests were required to do that before administering
Correct.
the services
Yeah.
of the temple.
Yes.
Than it would here,
With Yeshua.
where this is them asking him about washing their hands or not. There's a different and even a greater point to this scripture this sister brought out than there is to the other one, but the Nation of Islam correlation seems like it would be to the latter, you know, than it would be to
I
this.
agree.
Y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand that.
100%. Did anybody else have anything to say on top of that? Did y'all agree with that, or any pushback on that at all? No? Zeb? Dave? Good. Do we understand what was being brought up?
question is almost like, you go through the physical, but it also have to, it's kind of like correlating to what we need to be doing spiritually. That's what
Okay. Part 3, I have written here a sign of covenant and trust. Part 3 is a sign of covenant and trust. Brother Zephaniah, could you give me Exodus chapter 31, verses 12 through 17, please?
This is Exodus chapter 31, verse 12 through 17. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. You shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. The Sabbath was a sign of Israel's unique relationship with Abba, Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So observing the Sabbath essentially meant what? Trusting the Most High's provisions, right? And stopping from work even was an act of what? Faith, I would say. Stopping work even on the Sabbath, which was required from us, was an act of faith that the children of Israel executed. Breaking the Sabbath also carried serious, very, very serious consequences because it represented the rejection of the Most High's order. Fourth question. Why do you all think the Most High made the Sabbath a sign between him and Israel? And what does this exactly teach us about obedience?
Repeat that again?
No problem. Why do you think Abba made the Sabbath a sign between him and us, the nation of Israel? And what does this exactly teach us about obedience?
Going back to Exodus 20.
You want to go there? Good. What do you want brothers have to read?
I mean, 8 through 11.
So together.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
And I forgot the other one where he mentioned that he made a covenant for perpetual. I'm misquoting it. Jeff, help me out. You know what I'm talking about, huh?
Say what you just said again.
He mentioned that the father had said that he made it for a perpetual covenant.
We just read that. That's in Exodus 31.
Yeah.
But even that, Gabe, I mean, this was a great thing to bring up as well, because it's also in the same breath, right, a reminder of creation even. You know, just as the Most High rested, right, on the seventh day, so should we. right? Like you said, like it says in verse 11, on 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So, it is an act of faith, and like we've mentioned over and over before, we must stop our work because we trust that the Most High will sustain us if we follow His orders and requirements. Sister Support?
Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 and 6. I think it's another reason why we
Exodus
made
19.
that, covenant between us.
You said Exodus 19, verse 5 through 6? And it also represents what, so I can write it down?
I think that's another reason why he made the Sabbath between him and us.
Signifying His relationship between Him and Israel. Brother Zell?
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 19, verses 5 and 6. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
Beautiful. So even in this, observing the Sabbath shows that we belong to Him, the Most High, and that we must honor His divine order. Sister Ford, did you want to expound on that? Did you want to expound on that? I think this is great.
What you just said.
What I just said? Okay, very good. And anybody else? If not, something like you want to say something.
And hey, what that mean on 16, like by perpetual covenant? Like what you mean by that?
Forever, over and over again.
Okay.
Say verse 16.
Yeah, I heard you say perpetual covenant. I was just asking like what it mean, like perpetual mean, but he just like told me like ongoing. And then the comment I would make, it'd be kind of like the Sabbath. We have every day we're supposed to give Him time, praise Him, but it seems like on the Sabbath we're supposed to do no work, so we forced into like I don't have to worry about the word, I don't have to worry about work, so all this day is really giving it to Him. That's like what's hitting me. That'd be the way to look at it.
Another way I've heard someone bring it up is like, you know how folks say, oh, well, seems like you all only think about the Most High on the Sabbath day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, there was this thought I had a while ago, and it made me really think, like, was Abba, like, does He want us to, all 6 days, right, give Him reverence? Obviously, we have to work, we have to make money, but should our mind be focused solely, in addition to what we have to do in order to survive, but should our minds be focused and fixated on the Most High for 6 days, and then on the 7th, not to say that we're resting from thinking about Him, but then we congregate and we gather all of our ideas and thoughts and questions, and we love one another on that day, and we just rest. And then following Sunday, the first day of the week, we then study. We do these things to give reverence to the Most High. But again, on the 7th day, we come together and learn. That was just a thought I had about probably, I don't even know, some months ago. I don't know, it's random. But it made your question made me think about it.
Say it one more time.
So,
The end part.
the end part?
Beginning part.
Oh, I was saying that I had a thought before, because when I hear people say, oh, well, it seems like y'all just focus on the Most High just one day on the Sabbath. That seems like when they all get together and that's the only time they really study and think about the Most High. And it had me think, like all these days, you know, the 6 days He created and the 7th day He created to rest. And I just had a random thought in my head, what if the Most High maybe wanted us to, for 6 days straight, obviously with also acknowledging the things we have to do in order to survive, but completely be fixated on Him and study, because although we know, let's be straight, in everything we do there's moderation, right? In everything, not just alcohol, not just this, not just food, not just even Torah. It's just like the book says, if you study too much or if you read too many books, this, that, and the other, you know, things can happen, right? So there's moderation to everything. And, because although the milk is important, you know, sometimes, you know, when things happen, things can become overwhelming, right? Questions we have, things we hear, things we see. So I began to think like, okay, these 6 days we spend time studying and giving reference to the Most High. And then on the 7th, we use that day as rest and come together and then learn and express our thoughts or opinions together.
On that, well, on that, this is what I have to say about that. Like 6 days, I work, 7 days I rest. Think about the Lord, majority of the day. Now, the other 6 days, I do think about him. Sometimes I will book the Bible over. But me at work, and I know Brother Kermit and Brother Rob, the job we have, if we think about the Lord the whole time we at work, somebody gonna die. So
What you said?
somebody would die.
You said somebody will die?
And we think he must
He's saying that he's not gonna be focused on the
yes,
task.
you could not focus on God the whole time.
Oh, okay, I see what
Work,
you're saying.
because he messed with trains, people will get smacked.
Oh,
They don't stop that period when I put in my driveway and put a Bible app out before I go in the house.
Yeah, so you know.
Cause if you wait until the Sabbath day to read the word,
You would miss
you're
so
gonna be
much.
limited in your understanding.
Yeah.
What we doing here, this the only time you read the Bible, you ain't gonna get the Bible.
I got
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course,
My
we
free
can't
time,
do it
yeah, we
while
can't
at
do
work.
it at work, but like when I get freed up, I will think some Bible or run Bible with people at work. But I'm not gonna do it in the middle of me walking around no barges. That river is running fast and no, I'm gone.
That's what you're saying.
Go to Rob, mess with electricity, it's over with.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Let's read 2 verses to kind of explain that point a little bit. If we go to the Acts right quick, and
What chapter?
the point about whether or not, this is what our ancestors did, right, in terms of what they did on the Sabbath. What we're doing, and it's funny because the brother Elder Larry brings this up, I think every time he does a service. What we're doing, brother Larry, he came a few times. You met him before, but it was one of the first times you met him. In any event, what we're doing right now is exactly what our ancestors have done for centuries. However, I do want to preface my statement before I read this, again, just to reiterate, because I think the point that you made is very important. If the only time you're studying is on the Sabbath, I don't have the authority to say that that's a problem, but to me, that's not enough time to, one, comprehend information, retain it, and then apply it to your life in a way that is efficient enough for you to, stop living in sin and really cleanse yourself with the word like you're supposed to. I think if you don't really have that relationship with the Most High yourself, where you seeking Him diligently through His word on your own personal time, that is a problem, okay? So I want to preface my statement by saying this. When we read Acts chapter 13, if we go to verse 14 and 15.
Acts 13?
Yeah, chapter 13, verse 14 and 15. All right, this is what the apostles were doing in the first century after Christ had been, after his death, burial, and resurrection. So we know this, but then we're going to go even further back, all right, just to show that this is a constant theme. In verse 14.
Maybe announce where you
What, say it again?
maybe announce where you're going for the live.
Oh, this is Acts 13, verse 14 and 15. It says, but when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch in Pisidia and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down, right? Now, this is not a synagogue, but it really don't matter the building. All right, we're in a building, we sitting down on the Sabbath day. It says, and after the reading of the law, we read the law before service, every time. It says, and the prophets, using Exodus, right? So that's still the law, but Moses was a prophet, so that's his book. The rulers of the synagogue sent unto them, saying, ye men and brethren, if any of you have any word of exhortation for the people, say on. So not only do we read, but these commentaries that is talked about, right? Whoever the teacher is, These are words of exhortation, all right? Last lesson was the call to bitterness. All right, your lesson is what do you do with leadership and accountability in times of difficulty, right? Uncertainty. These are words of exhortation. So in essence, the people are supposed to hear this and continue on throughout the week doing whatever it is that they're doing when they're not in this setting, right? But to go back even further to prove that this was done even before Christ and the disciples during their time, we go to Acts chapter 15. They mention this again. In Acts chapter 15, we'll go to verse 21, that's it. We'll finish up with that. So in Acts chapter 15 and verse 21, it says, "For Moses of old time hath in every city," meaning, again, the Sabbath is a holy convocation, but like we mentioned with the brothers earlier, they didn't have, every Israelite didn't have to congregate to one spot to keep the Sabbath. You had synagogues in the different cities of Israel, and whichever one was closer to you, that's the one that you can go keep the Sabbath in. All right? It says in verse 21, "For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath." So the people, Moses, from Moses' time and everybody thereafter who was preaching his word, which is the law, they did this in the synagogues on every Sabbath. So, again, just to make sure this is clear, what we're doing is an exact replica to the T, as we could read from Scripture, of what our people have been doing, who knew who they were hundreds and thousands of years. However, if the only time that you're studying is on the Sabbath day, it's really not a good thing.
But then moreover, right, even the point that you made, things that we would hear with whoever the teacher selected was preaching, teaching. The idea is you bring these ideas and teachings and proceed with your week. So when you hear these things in your mind, right, we take these things each and every day of our lives. And that in itself, to me, is showing reverence and respect to the Most High. And the communications we have, even when we have moments in our driveway, we open the book for 3-5 minutes, even that, whatever time of it is, even that, it's important. It's essential to our growth and understanding. And then on the Sabbath day, we're together and speak about these things, right? It's not supposed to be all dandelions and flowers, right? It's not, because Yeshua ain't coming back with an ice cream truck either, is he? So at the end of the day, we understand that we're going through the hard times and struggles. So it's very important, like we always say, like we hear each other say all the time, today is the day that we look forward to ever since tomorrow, Sunday. The Sabbath day is on our mind ever since tomorrow, right? It starts tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the next Sabbath day. What are we going to learn? What am I going to take forward this week from Brother Ricky's lesson, Brother Kermit's lesson, Brother Zephaniah, Brother Gabe, even the sisters, right? What are we going to take? And how are we going to live our lives accordingly? And then reconvene next Sabbath. I think it's all important. Anybody else want to respond?
I want to move to one of your original questions, because I didn't really hear an answer, and I would like to hear the class's answers, yours, whoever answered. The question was made, what makes the Sabbath day? What was that, in 17? It is a sign between me and you.
Exodus 31?
Yeah, back to Exodus 31, back to your lesson.
Yep. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever.
For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven. Yeah, keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath. Oh, yeah, 16 and 17, like Will was asking about the perpetual covenant. I mean, I understand that this was always stated, but your question was, why is the Sabbath day the sign? What is it about the Sabbath day? I have my own opinion. I just want to hear, other people's. What is it about the Sabbath day that makes it the perpetual covenant, or the sign between the Most High and His people? For me personally, the Sabbath has always been the most difficult of them. I don't know if it's because of the weekly occurrence or the fact that we live upstream and live in a life where everything happens on Saturday. It took me 18 years before I could have Saturdays off at work, you know what I mean, on my job that long. So it has always been an issue. It's an issue in my home, it's an issue in my work life, it's an issue everywhere because everything happens on a Saturday. But what is it about the Sabbath that the Lord used as a perpetual covenant between himself and God, or between his people and himself? You know, and what is it that makes that a sign? I just wanted to hear.
I know Sister Haven has something to say, but I want to at least respond to that.
That was your question,
Yeah, that's right. So, the thought I have, right, is in order to shine our light the brightest, there must be sacrifice intertwined in that. The days of Nehemiah and Ezra. It's not a sin to buy and sell on the Sabbath, is it? It's not in Torah.
It is not in Torah.
So why did Nehemiah and Ezra say that? Why did Nehemiah and Ezra close those gates?
Yes, you can't come with your
If it was on the Sabbath day, then that must mean the Sabbath day must have been, even in that time, just like today, one of the busiest days to exist.
And just like it is
People are
today.
moving. But Hezekiah, shout out Hezekiah. Nehemiah and Ezra stated, we will close these gates. And you will not go in there and do nothing.
Right.
You will not be tempted. We won't even do anything, because that is the ultimate sacrifice. And if you do that thing, then everything after that, just like Yeshua says, when they asked him what was the most important commandment, he said, love your brother and make sure with all your heart, right?
Well, love the Lord God with
And
all
love the
your
Lord
heart.
God with all your heart, and then your brother, and you will fulfill all commandments. So therefore, if I keep the one that involves the most sacrifice, then all the other will come easy. Because he also says that his laws aren't grievous, right? But it has to begin with the Sabbath. It must, because that is the ultimate sacrifice. And that's my response. Sister Haven? Sure?
It was, regarding the previous question.
Let's go to it. Where do you want to go?
Well, let me answer this question real quick. If, I would say from a biblical standpoint, okay, if we get to the next question. The Sabbath, like we read, he tells us to keep it because that's what he did in creation. Okay?
He rested on the Sabbath.
That is the reason. Okay? He says 4 in 6 days. So the 4 is the reason. You keeping the Sabbath. 4 in 6 days, I worked and I created everything that you see and that you don't even see, that you haven't even discovered on this earth, in this reality that we have. I created all that in 6 days. I did all my work. And now I rested. Me. I'm the Most High. I rested on the Sabbath. You couple that with scriptures like in Deuteronomy chapter 8, where when the Most High tells us to do things, he doesn't just tell us to keep the commandments. He tells us to walk in his ways, okay? Walking in his ways meaning do the things that he does. You'll find that a lot of the commandments that we are commanded to do are ways that we imitate God, which is where Christ comes into the picture. When Christ says he can do nothing but what he sees the Father does, he's saying that whatever you see me doing is what I've seen my Father do, okay? Here in Deuteronomy 8, it says in verse 6, therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God. So we all know this, right? Keeping the commandments. To walk in his ways and fear him. Again, I can mention a whole bunch of commandments. The fringes with the border of blue is a representation of his covenant that he made with Noah and all of his descendants and all the animals after that, because he says when he sees the bow in the cloud, he will look at it and remember not to destroy the earth. So we have a ribbon of blue on our borders, and we're supposed to look at it and remember to keep the commandments. He doesn't respect persons in his judgment. So he tells the judges, don't take bribes, don't respect persons, don't do this, don't judge, don't look at the poor a certain way or the rich a certain way. All these commandments, a lot of them are an imitation of what he in the spiritual realm does. And again, if you couple that with verses like in John, where Christ talks about he does nothing but what he sees the Father do, and that's our example, and we're supposed to follow him. When we read in scripture about the Sabbath and it being a perpetual covenant, I've always thought it was because, our people be scattered to the four corners of the earth. And that's typically a sign. You keep it a Sabbath day, don't matter what day, somehow you keep it a 7-day rest day. You must be God's people somewhere down the line. You kept this tradition. But from a biblical standpoint, we're supposed to be operating the same way that God is operating. And that's what he did from the beginning. And therefore, this is a sign to us, like you mentioned, this is a sign from us to him that we are his people and that he sanctified us. Sanctified meaning, I chose you, children of Israel, to be like me. And that's the sanctification in and of itself.
A reminder of creation.
Right, and let me also throw this in there too. You said it's Saturday is like the most inconvenient day to be the Sabbath, right? That's done on purpose.
On purpose, absolutely, I totally
That's
agree.
definitely done on
Oh,
purpose.
yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah,
But this goes back to the Babylonians, and the Babylonians viewed the seventh day as a cursed day.
Yeah.
So when we're taken into captivity, that's how they look at it.
Yeah, it's not an issue because it's the Sabbath, it's an issue because of what the word has
Everything
done,
else, right,
what everything around it is done, because, I mean, if you take it back to the biblical times, everybody knew when the Sabbath was, everybody knew they were the children of Israel, so a lot of the issues that we face every day, they didn't face in the scriptures, because, I mean, they may not follow Christ, they may not be a disciple or whatever, but at least they knew, because their dad did, their granddad did, their grandmom, their aunt at least. You know, now nobody knows anybody that keeps Saturday and wear ribbons of blue but you. Don't nobody else know anybody else that does those things.
The furthest
You know what I mean?
goes.
So that's what makes you special, in my opinion. That's where the Sabbath comes, other than the Seventh Day Adventists. Anybody that keeps Sabbath, I know they share something with me.
Yeah.
They're special and peculiar in itself because you try to keep, or because you keep Sabbath.
Oh yeah, in and of itself.
That makes you separate in itself. That was mine.
Because you standing out.
Yeah, you stand out because of that. Right.
I said, that's kind of way like he said, my sheep know my voice too. You know, so when we learning about the Sabbath and these commandments, like my kids, this is my son right here, like he's living in Georgia, by the way. But so when they around people in this world, and when they hear about the Sabbath, their ears, their antennas on. You know what I'm saying? When they hear about a person saying they don't celebrate Christmas, they ears on. So it's like they hearing the voice of God through people because they're speaking the word from the book, but they've been talking, you know what I'm saying? Even though they don't be here, you know what I'm saying? It's still in them to recognize the voice of God when they hear somebody saying something similar to what's in the word they've read and studied.
Sister Hayden, would you want an Acts?
I didn't speak on, your previous question, should we study weekly, other than waiting on the Saturday, Joshua 1 and 8.
Joshua chapter 1, verse 8.
I know within pages we getting.
Oh, yes. Would y'all say Joshua 8 wood?
1 and 8. 1 and 8. It's the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success.
I would like to say a few things. Using the word study, to me that word is kind of tainted, because it can be grievous. It's hearing the word study. I associate it with school. What we're doing is spending time with our Father. And it's a couple of spots, we don't have to read it, but if y'all want to go on your own time, it's not just reading to spend time with the Father, but our conversation should be different. Putting off the old man, you're not the same person that you used to be once you return back to the covenant. So, by your conversations, you're spending time, you meditate, because your talk is what our book is about. And then remembering that the commandments are not grievous. So Ephesians 4, 22
Ephesians, can you say that one time?
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22 through 25, and 1 John 5 and 3.
Thank you for making that point about study and meditate. That's a very good point.
I'm sorry, what was Ephesians again?
I think she said
Ephesians 4, 22 through 25. And then 1 John 5 and 3.
Thank you.
No problem.
I had something, when you said that, I was thinking about this scripture as well, and also thinking about, acknowledging him in all your ways. And when you're not on Sabbath, those are the 6 days, you know, you
Give him
think
reference.
about that, yeah, as well, so.
Absolutely.
One last thing.
Yeah.
The Messiah said that he has to be about his Father's business, right? With us doing the work of the Father, those are the 6 days that we're not just working, laboring in his world, but you should be doing the work of the Father, things like that. So, that's all.
100%. Anybody else? Let's move forward. This next section, impatience, idolatry, and consequences. I want impatience, idolatry, and consequences. We're going to go into the golden calf now. Exodus 32. Brother Zeph, could you get me verses 1 through 4, please?
This is Exodus chapter 32, verses 1 through 4. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives and your sons and your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graveling tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
So, our ancestors, people of Israel, grew extremely impatient when Moses, to them, delayed in his return from the mount, right? So instead of trusting in the Most High, they demanded a visible God to lead them, right? Now, Aaron, high priest Aaron, Levitical priest Aaron, under pressure made a golden calf. Now, which commandment did he break? First and foremost. The first commandment, right? Now, when you reflect on impatience, and this is, I'm talking to myself as well, which is why I wrote the lesson like I did today. When we face uncertainty, we often try to find immediate solutions right away. Just as the Israelites turned to a physical idol, moreover, impatience often leads us to idols, not just statues, but things we depend on other than God. Even with my name, Asa. May peace and blessings be upon King Asa, one of the great kings of Israel. He depended on a physician because he got impatient. The Most High dealt with him accordingly. Right? Even something as his foot, gout, whatever it was. Still, nonetheless, he depended on something else rather than the Most High. And just like last week, after Brother Kermit's beautiful lesson, we had spoke about these sorcerers and all these other things, astrology and things, and then when things happen, the Most High said, well, no, don't come to me. Go on to the ones you depend on. Don't ask me for Nathan. Go to them. You cry on to them, you depend on them to lead you, and what you asking me anything for, because you know that those things can't lead you to anywhere, right? You must not depend on these things. You must depend on the Most High. So, when we're impatient, we must remember that, right? We must remember that. And something I've told you all when we first met, when we were all together, I said I've really been trying to focus on not doing so much, but actually beginning to listen. Or at least trying to, right? Even when I'm impatient. Really trying to understand what the Most High and His angels are trying to tell me. Fifth question. What are some modern idols or distractions we might What are some modern idols or distractions we might turn to in times of impatience or uncertainty in today's time? Brother Zeph?
This right here.
The
Phone.
phone.
Social media,
It ain't just social media, it's the phone in general.
phone in general, technology.
Maybe that's a gift of the courage, because you say in times of uncertainty, just that. I can't, the least comfortable position for me in life is what I don't know. I don't care how bad it is, if I know it, then I can deal with it. But uncertainty is my most uncomfortable state. But that phone alleviates it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it could be a place where we go to at bad times. But if I need to know something, I can, even if it's about the word, I can at least search and see where someone else, I might not be really concerned about their perspective or, as the world uses, interpretation of a scripture, but at least give me the spots to go to read it myself.
That's amazing. Remember
You know what I mean? So that's a gift, that's kind of good and bad. That is absolutely where I go in times of uncertainty.
100%. Remember when Brother Zeph had brought out Saul, and last week we had mentioned it with Brother Ricky's lesson about him consulting, trying to sum it up, Samuel, and he was saying that Brother Zeph had said that he neither his prayers, prophets, Urim,
That's it.
those three, right? Nothing. We ain't getting nothing. Just imagine if Saul had GPS and red light radar trying to see what these Philistines were.
Right. Pull it up.
Things would have
Drop
happened,
a
right?
pin, right?
Things would have happened, right?
Yeah.
So no, I just when you said that, it made me think of that.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely correct. I would even also include money, sometimes even work, us being too much into work, right? Relationships, excessive entertainment. Did anybody else want to add anything? Pleasure?
What's the question again? How did you state it? I understand the question.
No
State
problem.
the question.
So my question was, what are some modern idols or distractions we might turn to in times of impatience and or uncertainty?
One of them could possibly be how you said the idol. In uncertainty, you could probably, instead of going to God, you can go to a physical person just because you idolize them.
Other individuals, other people.
Other people.
That's a common place we lean on
Yeah.
when uncertain.
Oh my goodness.
That's a good one.
The most common place, actually.
It's a very good one.
I don't know, is that before or after the phone, Zip?
Both.
Which one you go to?
Sometimes you gonna pick up the phone to try to get
You gotta use the phone to get that person.
Man, hold on, man. Let me call this.
Yeah, you call me.
This is the four?
I wanted to reiterate on distractions again, we was talking about the phone. For me personally, at one point, I felt I was putting more energy and time in, TV, watching movies. If you could take 2 and 3 and 4 hours watching movies or spending time on social media, that's 4 or 5 hours almost a day. So we spend more time doing those things than we are reading, then it's a problem. So I had to balance it out. I'd rather spend more time in the word than giving more time to these distractions.
What could you have accomplished in those 4 or 5 hours you did that day? Watching Netflix. Right. That is an issue for me as well.
So the point is, right, to get all of us thinking about how we too might make idols when we are not sure on how to wait, or rather we become impatient, right? Just like the Israelites did with Moses, and essentially, not even Moses they were impatient with. They were really impatient with the Most High, right? Even after he got down from the mountain, start complaining about other stuff, right? Extremely impatient. And then, like it says, we began to follow the devices of our own heart because we felt like the Most High was not giving us what we needed at the time we wanted it, right? Which will cause our own detriment. 100% of the time. Not just 50-50, not 80-20, 100% of the time. Next section, if anybody didn't have any response to that, it's called, I labeled it as leadership under pressure. Leadership under pressure. And I want to get Exodus 32, 21 through 24.
This is Exodus chapter 32, verse 21 through 24. And Moses said unto Aaron, what did this people unto thee, that thou hast brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord wax hot. Thou knowest the people that they are set on mischief. For they said unto me, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we will not what is become of him. And I said unto them, whosoever hath any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it me. Then I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf.
So when Aaron was confronted by Moses, sounds like to me he began to make excuses for his actions, right? Like we all do, or rather have all before. So again, leadership under pressure. Now, we know that Aaron blamed the people for their desire for an idol. Obviously, these are things we've spoken about before. Just put yourself in Aaron's shoes for a moment. Millions of Israelites looking at you because the one leader is on the mountain on a mission. And you threaten to kill somebody, to harm somebody, if you don't get what you want. And then there's a whole bunch of people, just like we voted on what we would do for Passover. Just imagine that list being brought around. Kill Aaron or create a calf ourselves. And most of those checks was right under, kill Aaron. Aaron say, wait, hold on, I'm gonna just do it, whatever. Just don't kill me, right? So just for a moment, although we understand Aaron didn't do what he was supposed to do in terms of being a proper leader at that time, just put yourself in his shoes and just wonder, maybe for a second, what might have you done, right? If you were in the same predicament. So again, he blamed the people for their desire for an idol. He explained how he simply threw the gold into the fire and the calf came out, which Brother Zephaniah just read in Exodus 32, verse 24. And Aaron failed to stand firm, and he let the pressure get to him. So again, reflection on what leadership means to me. Leadership is not about making excuses or giving in to pressure. True leadership is about standing firm in faith. It's about standing firm in faith and responsibility, even in the face of fear. Aaron's failure to do that teaches us how important it is to remain true to our values, even when others around us are making poor decisions. Very important, which is again why I look forward to today, because I'm around people who don't know what this is every single day, 6 days out of the week. And whether I think about it or not, in some ways it does tear me down, my spirit down, because it's not healthy. Sixth question. When have you all faced pressure to compromise your values or beliefs? And how did you handle that situation? Obviously, we don't have to get personal, but just help me out. We can have a little discussion. Is there anything anyone wants to share? An example, 2 or 3 is fine, no problem. No problem. When have you all faced pressure to compromise your values or beliefs? And how did you handle that particular situation?
Well, I had a similar situation what happened with Kermit this week, as far as somebody asked me if you offer me food, and I'm saying, I don't eat that. I brought lunch, you know what I'm saying? And it was one of the Gentile, he was like, oh, you one of them Jewish people. So he started Googling
Jewish people.
He always Googling, man. This dude just Google stuff. He said, what you go off the Mosaic law and stuff like that? I said, no, look out on. So I told him, I said, I'm a Christian. Cause I know that's what they can relate to, you know what I'm saying? And he said, well, most Christians I know they eat whatever they want to eat. They don't keep, that's the Old Testament. That's what he was like.
That's what they gonna say?
He said, that's the Old Testament. And I say, well, what God said it was good to eat all the, you know, catfish and all that. So he went to Acts, the division with Peter, right? And I had him to read it. I always till he got to that part where it said, call no man common or unclean. So I asked him what I said, so was he talking about the food or was he talking about breaking the yoke between Jew and Gentile? And now another white person got in the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Another Gentile was speaking up saying, well, that's how old we could do what you want, not to eat what you want. And I said, well, so man, I guess you can eat horse, dog, whatever you want to eat. And he said, I actually would try horse. That was two say, he said, I actually would try horse. So it made me think about when Christ was telling them about when they met the Gentile to stay away from things sprinkled with blood and all that stuff. I went to that verse because it showed me how they would eat anything. They'll eat anything, you know what I'm saying? So I felt myself in to kind of get out of character going back and forth with them. So I just left it, I left it with peace, for like, man, you know, that's why we have a free will. You know what I'm saying? If you ask me why I eat the way I eat and what I believe as a Christian or a believer, I showed you. But I had to leave them with, that's your free will. You just read it and you said you eat whatever still, that's your free will. That's the good thing God gave every man. He's not gonna make you serve or make you obey.
Freedom of choice.
Yeah, so I had to leave it with them without going no further because they was gonna twist any scripture up like that. They're not gonna hear it. So you know, to keep myself from being vexed on a question that he asked me and getting out of character, I just left it, man, that's your will. You can choose to eat whatever you want to eat. You know what I'm saying? God wrote it and it's up to you whether you want to obey it or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've always found the tactic to prove the negative, as they say. If they tell me that's the Old Testament or whatever, because that's absolutely where the ordinances came from. But show me in the New Testament. I put it in their hands.
Right.
You prove your negative, that statement you just made. Show me in the New Testament where the stuff in the Old Testament doesn't matter because of the blood of Christ.
Right.
And they can fall. And make them read it. You know what I mean? That is the best way. But as far as to your question, I've spoken with Rob and both of them can test and Britt before. I told them to count their blessings for having a spouse that shares your faith system. You know what I mean? So, being married 25 years this summer, and being an Israelite for 15 of those alone, and that's my difficulty, trying to lead a home by this book that doesn't follow. Believe in the book, but like they say, you know, I always say, believing in God and following God is two different things. If we leave here and I say, follow me to Tony Seafood, and I go all the way around I-12, the long way, you can believe that I'm going to Tony Seafood. You can trust. I've never lied to you before. You can trust that I'm going there, but you know there's a shorter way there. But God might take you a long way around to a place. That's following him. You have to take that long way and be like, man, why are we going to Tony Seafood and I'm on I-12? You know what I mean? Because following him might take you a different way, you know, and leading a home without understanding or
concern for following, not just believing, that is difficult in a sense. Now, I don't know if I would trade that for these single brothers and sisters who have to find someone either in the truth or wait for someone to respect God like you do. That's hard in itself. I don't know, I don't wanna be in the world and have to find that.
Did we get that in 1 Corinthians though? Where is that? Unbelieving husband.
7, yeah,
Talking about
I
the
never
We're
lived
talking
by
about
1
the
Corinthians
good,
7.
the good is sanctified by the
Sanctified.
Talk about all that.
We're not getting into that.
Yeah, 1 Corinthians 7 is what has gotten me through for 15 years.
So
That one scripture.
we don't have to go to that.
He that quick.
I just want to bring it up.
But that is the one that be like the unrighteous sanctified by the righteous.
And some people never like, we went to, Tennessee, in the mountains, and died apart, and got a news report in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And they tell her life story of her parents, when you come in the form of a train ride. So her daddy was a Seventh-day Adventist, and her mama was a Sunday Christian. And that was for the whole time they was married. You know, he would never go to step a foot in the Sunday church, but he'll drop his wife off and pick her up from church. You know what I'm saying? He didn't eat no pork the whole time that they was together. She prepared food that he would eat, you know what I'm saying? So, some people, like that, the other one never believe in, it never go that way, but they still stay together. Still stay together.
Just like 1 Corinthians 7 say, my degrees, you know, I mean, well, that's just my situation with this one. But read the question again so we can make sure it's on.
No problem, no problem. So my question was, when have you all faced pressure to compromise your values or beliefs, and how did you handle that particular situation?
All right, yeah, all right.
Go
I
ahead,
just wanna
brother.
make sure. Me, when I first learned the truth, all right, me and my family reunion, we always get together, and I always was the one who did the majority of the cooking. All right, and so it's hard for me, that's the only time I always see my cousins. But therefore, my mom, Rick is saved now, he's such and such, he, you know, he in the Bible, and so I had to work a certain way when I walk up in there. But like, say, for Christmas and all that back then, this before I read that I was supposed to do that, but like, say, they had cake, ice, you know, my mama always make the white cakes and all that for Christmas. So when I go in the house, I didn't eat it that day. I came back the next day, got a big chunk. But then I realized, when I read it, that it was still made for
Food sacrifice to idols.
idols, so I no longer could eat that. That's just like, my mama made cornbread dressing, I love the cornbread dressing, candy yams. So I would go get the leftovers. So therefore, I couldn't eat that no more. Then when I seen that, so my kids, they stopped eating it too. So I had to show them we couldn't go, even though we know the fire ain't gonna be kicking, we couldn't go eat it no more for the food sacrifice idols. So,
That was compromising
yeah,
the value.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
What are you thinking, hard?
That's why I
I
said.
just be pondering on stuff. All I can really say is like when I first found out about the truth, it was very kind of hard to transition, especially on Sabbaths, working jobs. You trying to, I'm like, man, I'm trying to like walk this, but they don't really care about that. They just worried about working you like a slave. So it'll either get to some point where you trying to tell them they're not rocking with it. I just make the decision. If y'all not gonna rock with it, y'all be safe out there. I'm finna depart ways from y'all. So I done like done that a few times. Yeah, cause you want that bread, but it be like, cause it even happened with the job I got now. Like when I seen we got to work some Saturdays and stuff, I was like, hey, I can't work Saturday. Then me, I don't know if it was not moving the wheel. I'm just like, man, I don't know if you read the Bible, but in the Word, we don't supposed to work on no Sabbath. And he was like, is that every Saturday? I'm like, yeah, that's every Saturday. And he was just like, oh, can we just keep it like that? So I ain't really been working on Saturdays, but it was just a question of like, why you think one Saturday be there, then all the rest of them, yeah. So,
But sometimes I went against it when I
What
first
you mean?
got, like, Sabbath, when I first came to, in the truth. I was the one trying to find a way out. Justify.
yeah.
And, so God humbled me like 2 times, man, cause I worked for myself. At the time, man, you know, I got a night job now, but at the time I worked for myself, and, he just made the situation where I would come to class Bible study in my work van, me and my wife, and we going straight to work and we need Bible study. You know what I'm saying, hustling, so. He made it to where I couldn't do it, like, two situations he did, I went to go clean the AC unit for somebody, and I had told this dude about Saturday, like, man, I'm learning about Saturday, man, we want to work on Saturday. And I came out to try to clean this unit, and the dude didn't have water pressure when I tried to clean it. They're like, man, I had good water pressure, I didn't even notice that. He said, man, wow, look, you told me about the Saturday, but you got your family waiting in the car. Man, why don't you go home and rest like you said, you told me that. He said, why don't you come back tomorrow and do it? I left and came back next day, everything was fine. You know what I'm saying? I did that again the following Saturday. I went out, because I felt like this was a ram in the bush. It was a good friend of mine that had died, and they had the repads in his mama's house. The AC had broke during the repad, so they called me. So I'm like, all right, it's a good deed. They have the repads, I'm gonna go help them out. I had to call the store was closed on Saturday, first of all. I had to call the store and pay after-hour fee for them to open the store for me on a closed day. And then I bought the parts, I needed a fan motor. I went to put the fan motor in, it was bad, straight out the box. So I walked back to the van, my wife was sitting in the van, she waiting on me. And she rolled one of them out, she said, you know why did that now? And I said, yeah, she said, you know, we understood that. We understood that we ain't supposed to be working on the set. And you still trying to do it. That's why that motor bag out the box. So I had to shut it down after the second attempt of trying.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it no more. And he blessed me way more, like giving up. That one particular day, man, he superseded what I probably would have made working every Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So you got a way of making you shut down. And if you choose you to do something, you got a way of stopping you. I always come back to your memory that when you're familiar, you understand. Like I understood what I had heard, but I just was trying to find a way out, man. And he stopped me.
We all got a little Jonah in us. Sometimes, right? We all got a little Jonah in us. But everything is already written and ordained, even with the freedom of choice. Don't matter. The end is always waiting on you. No matter what.
Keep going.
Did anybody else want to share? Cool. It's 5:08, so I did have some other sections, and I'll just go until we can't anymore, really. So I want to go to now Exodus 32. We're already there, verses 30 through 32, and I labeled this as standing in the gap. As far as Moses, when the Most High saw what we were doing down the mountain. Exodus 32, verses 30 through 32, brothers.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 30 through 32. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, you have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up unto the Lord. Peradventure I shall make an atonement for your sin. And Moses returned unto the Lord and said, oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them gods of gold. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written.
If this isn't a leader, I don't know what is. If this isn't a leader, I don't know what is. And, I'll just stop it there. Moses literally stood in intercession for the nation of Israel, offering himself to atone for our sin. Intercession is also considered leadership. It's not about being perfect, but about taking responsibility for others. Moses understood that leadership is not about power, but about service. Moses' willingness to sacrifice for the people, the nation of Israel, shows the heart of a true leader, selflessness, and devotion. I have written here, Moses' act of intercession is one of the highest forms of leadership. A true leader steps in when others fail, not to punish, but to seek reconciliation and restoration. We got to think to ourselves sometimes, right? How often do we intercede for others, even when they don't even deserve it? We feel like even if we feel like they don't deserve it, right? Moses knew very good and well what we were doing down that mountain. His own brother, right? The Most High said, you know what? the heck with them, I'll just start over with you. Moses had to remind the Most High, although we know the Most High doesn't forget anything, it's not the point. In that moment, the Most High even tested Moses to try to see what type of man he was, what type of leader he was. In order to be a proper leader, you gotta ask yourself, even if you will be capable of even doing something like that, even saying something like that, even having an opportunity to be in the pulpit like that as a leader, as the forefront, as a spokesperson for a nation, for the entire nation, not only a nation, but the nation of Israel, which we read already, we're already peculiar. Because the one that's watching over us, the one that controls us, is the one who created everything. Next question I have for you all is, have you all had to ever intercede for someone else, even when they had made mistakes? And how did that make you all feel? How did that feel when you all had to do that? If y'all don't mind sharing. Like I said, this is literally a lesson for myself. I'm literally talking to myself because these are things, the one person that knows exactly where I'm going is Brother Zephaniah. So I'm really asking you all this because this lesson was really formed around not only myself, but me being around you all, because I'm comfortable with you all family. So I'm sharing my life experiences with you all in hopes that y'all share some of y'all's minds so that I can understand proper solutions as well.
So are you asking, he will take a lick from,
I think he basically saying.
Essentially,
yeah,
essentially,
take
take a lick from somebody else.
I did that multiple times.
how did it make you
I
feel?
lost a good job, my first good job for that. How did it feel? I got even.
Evil. Even.
Yeah, I got even back then. I was 21. I got even.
Anybody else?
I will not say anything to keep you from getting in trouble, but I'm not suffering the consequences because you did something. Moses is great. But the Lord, even if we continue reading, the Lord didn't allow him, he didn't suffer the consequences. He said, oh, they gonna get it. I don't care how many you ask about your name, got not to be taken out the book. Oh, they gonna get something.
They still got it.
Yeah, so I'm not Moses, God bless him, just like I was Stephen last week, you know what I mean? I had grown to those levels, you know what I mean? But, so no, I'm not taking consequences. I'll do what I have to do to keep you from suffering consequences. I'll help protect you, but not at the.
Yeah, I do that now.
Yeah.
Like now, like, no, it ain't nothing major, you know what I'm saying? Like, one of them boys at work cut the tugboat loose. What I could do was sleep, and the dude hit X on top. And that's major. So they all ask me what happened, blah, blah, blah. I said to the dude with the sleep, and this and that. I tried to make sure it didn't look like he just was zombie and cut the thing loose. But again, the question you just asked was like one you asked the first time about Aaron, what we have did, let me ask something like that. This what I would have did. If I'd have seen them people want to take me out or something, I say, hold on. I'd have ran up that mountain. Moses, you know what I'm saying?
You couldn't
I
have
wouldn't
done
went,
it.
you
You couldn't have
know.
done it.
Yeah, you
You couldn't even have done it.
No, they wouldn't have known I wouldn't do that. I'd say, man, y'all go ahead. And why they not looking? I'm running up that mountain.
No, what I'm saying is you couldn't go up the mountain.
Yeah.
Oh,
Only Moses was, Joshua couldn't even go, he went up the mountain, but he couldn't even go past a certain point.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I just hid till Moses come down. I wasn't gonna be part of that. I'd have hid.
I don't know what was wrong with Aaron.
You know, Aaron just,
He got his answer though.
he wasn't thinking, my bad, he wasn't thinking. But that what I'd have did. I'd have hid, since I couldn't go about try to scream or something, you know, but I wasn't gonna be dealing with the food down there. If I just got released and they talking about make this go to the cave.
Come get these men.
Yeah, look, let's go down there, look, let's go get them, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They gonna handle our business. But nah, I wasn't gonna be down there making no golden calf with them. That's crazy. Man, the people just stopped me from being a slave. Man, I mean, he just stopped me from being a slave. You think I'm about to give it to some cow with milk and get pork chop? I mean, pork chop. Steak out of it.
Do you think he was scared of them or he understood their place? He understood that they had come out and he felt like they felt? Or was he afraid? What would make him adhere to that
I
request?
think he felt something
You know,
like
the
that.
Bible doesn't really say, but I, just, I
He
guess
has
it's a
it.
personal opinion.
I mean, you have to feel some type of way like them.
I think that, I mean, you gotta think about it. I mean, this man was about to get killed by a mob. And, you know, you got so many things running through your mind, you know, and I think in that instance, he didn't have that faith in the Father that he was gonna protect him. I mean, this is his first priest, you know, special seed, bloodline to come from him, you know. So, I
It was
guess.
out of fear, you saying?
You out of fear, I mean, you got a bunch of people about to kill you, but I guess he didn't realize that they would, you know, they couldn't do nothing to him because the Father had him. I mean,
How do you know that,
Yeah.
specifically, that they were about to kill him?
no, this is one.
Yeah, like it being the mob or whatever.
I guess you could use an example like when Peter denied Christ, they was ready to kill him. They were ready to kill Peter. When he denied him, Christ said, you denied me 3 times. When they asked him, man, you was with him. You was with him, yeah, he was with him to get him. He denied it.
This was like minutes or hours, right after.
Right?
Would that be the
So it's
same?
right after Yeshua told him, they can't deny it, dude.
Because he feared what was in front of him. You know what I'm saying? So fear make a man do.
Oh, he definitely was scared. I've been scared for him. That many people coming at me. And then they didn't have cunning ways like that back then. They wasn't slick. They did some stuff, but like today we grew up, we could do some very slick stuff. But they didn't have that back then.
Ain't nothing on the sun.
I mean,
Yeah, back
yeah.
then. Go ahead, man.
You gotta apologize. Did anybody else want to say anything?
I can't, I forgot, the name, I don't know if it was Abraham or Sarah, you remember when the dude got scared because he had to play like that was his sister because his wife was too beautiful, wasn't that Abraham? And they was finna, kill him, but he had to play like that was his sister, then that could've been like, going back, when he said he was lacking a little faith at that time, but the whole time when they found out, he was like, we basically would have spared you if you would've just told us that, yeah.
I mean, technically, that was his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wife was his sister.
They shared the same father.
Oh, okay.
Never had.
Thank you for that correction, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I just figured that he just played like that.
Still nasty. That was nasty.
Oh, but
Well, to us it was nasty, to them, you know.
I mean, I
I'm
guess.
gonna be real, you got me thinking on some other stuff now, like, you said, like, that's kinda like incest, what about
That's
like,
exactly
Yeah, that's exactly what they were. Ain't no condom.
no, ain't
We
that the
just had to
same
let
thing?
out in it, you know what I'm saying? But that's still incest. You had to let out in it, you know what I'm saying? No, I go back to like with animals and stuff, you know, yeah, you gotta let out
But
in
the
it.
law- the laws of
It
incest were
wasn't-
after
It wasn't,
To be fair, that wasn't established till
After the-
after the
Yeah,
fact.
the laws of
So-
incest was after that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, because if you think about it, Adam and Eve,
Yeah,
Seth,
Adam, Eve.
and
I
then
was
they
just
said,
about to bring that
you know
up
what I mean?
about
There had to
Cain
be a
and stuff
lot
like
of
that.
incest
It's
in
how
order
much
to
about
multiply
that.
the world. Incest had to happen if we on this order to be.
Technically, we all like cousins.
Somewhere.
But once the law
I don't
said,
even wanna speak.
Quote unquote
Yeah,
cousins.
that's the type of-
Quote unquote cousins.
Sister,
that's the type of house. Not
Just
crazy
a,
with it.
another precept.
go ahead.
Leviticus 5:1. We're gonna,
Leviticus 5.
Not speaking on a brother or sister committing sin, and this would be somebody that knows them.
You said 5-1?
Yeah.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 5, verse 1. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing and is a witness, whether he has seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity.
I'm gonna be real, anybody can explain that verse to me, cause I'm lost.
read it again. Oh, where are we?
No, Leviticus 5 and 1. And if a soul sin, oh my bad, you that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, and if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing and is a witness, whether he has seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity.
So, just like the Most High requires us to show Israel there's, our sins, show a brother, your sister, your sins. If you see something being done, you don't say anything, then
You
might
just
wear
as
that
fault.
the blood's on your hands.
I got you.
Just if you did the sin yourself, you have the same iniquity as that person.
That person.
Because you ain't know who was.
Well, yeah, because you didn't correct them.
Or at least, yeah, you ain't gotta tell anybody else, but at least say something to that person, you know that's wrong.
Oh, okay, I got you.
That's why I say show, not execute whatever you want, judgment on the person for sinning. At least show them their sins. Show them.
You got a list of bullets written on that paper or something, every time you come on, you just fire one off. She got a full clip over there, man, really.
I was about to say. I forgot. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is just through discernment, this is for people like those of us in the room that knows better, but you wouldn't go up to somebody that isn't awakened and point out everything that they do wrong, because it wouldn't be wise. But the people that you know to be keeping the commandments and they are willfully doing things wrong, then,
Correct.
Is that, in contextually, is that how this part of it, of course, we've all read it before, but that's a very good point to that. I mean, cause one thing you can't do to black folks is correct them, even if they say strawberry. And you say, no, it's strawberry, you have a problem. You understand what I'm saying? Correctly, you cannot correct black people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, that's to that point, I guess.
to be a life. I'll give an example, we just spoke on this during our, sister session. My grandmother, I was sitting at a table, and she was cooking some type of flesh, some type of meat. And I didn't say a word, I'm doing whatever I was doing at the table, and she out loud said, I know you thinking I ain't supposed to be eating this, and that I ain't supposed to be cooking or eating this food. I didn't say a word, I'm just being a light. She know I don't eat it, I don't have to say anything.
Now, you have a very humble nature, how did you answer it?
I didn't say anything.
You didn't say anything.
I said, oh, I ain't even say nothing to you.
I don't know.
It's just that they convicted in their own heart.
Yeah.
So just by being a light, you are teaching them what to do.
Yeah, a lot of the times, leaders, you don't have to open your mouth all the time.
Don't teach without
Be a
speaking.
productive leader. Don't. All you gotta be is a light. I totally agree.
You had conversations with her before about dietary restrictions and things of that nature.
But from my excitement of first waking up, I don't try to share it with it, and that's how it came, but it was never profitable. It does now, but I never go into conversation, just do the work.
Brother Rick?
No, this ain't got to do, well, now this on about insects.
Oh, he's still.
That's on topic, that's why I never know. But I thought, I mean,
You don't speak?
I was thinking about, when we were talking about brother and sister.
Yeah.
But then with Adam and Eve, they were, we came down from them. But I thought about the animals that were on the ark, all of them was, and then they came out, so, yeah. I just something sidebar to think about.
So good, so good. Last section today is labeled as a new beginning. Brother Zephaniah, can you give me Exodus 34, 6 through 7, please?
You said 34, 67, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got about 20 minutes left.
That's perfect.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 34, verse 6 and 7. And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children, unto the third and to the fourth generation.
So, despite our great sin, sins, plural. The Most High still decided to renew the covenant. Obviously, we understand why he did that, in order for his name not to be tainted amongst other nations, and for him to keep his promise, for the same reason for his name not to be tainted by other nations or mocked. The Most High proclaimed his mercy. As we know, he is extremely slow to anger and full of grace. Even when we mess up, the Most High is always ready to forgive and give us another chance. This was the second set of tablets Moshe received, a sign of that, a new beginning for the people, for the nation of Israel. So for me, mercy, what it means to me is that it's a core theme in, the portion of what chapter 34 explains. Despite our idolatry, the Most High still offered us a second chance. We too are called to show mercy to others, especially when they fail us. And I'll conclude like this, and then we can have a prayer and discussion. What I've realized and what I've been meditating on for the past 2 or 3 weeks is something that I'm really trying to get good at. 2 things. Shut up in certain instances, even though when I have so many thoughts in my head. Brothers like Brother Zephaniah, Brother Ricky, Brother Rob, especially when we were on that phone call, it made me think of that, Brother Kermit included. I have to know when to speak, and I have to know when to be quiet. In addition to that, when the puzzle pieces are being put together in your life, that's probably one of the most important times for us to just be quiet. And I've learned that the hard way. I've had so many things that I've attempted to execute with a good heart, and everything really made sense for me. But I don't know if it was excitement or just wanting to speak about it. I don't really know what it was. Maybe I need to reflect on that as well. But you got to understand that people, even their thoughts, when they hear things that you want to get done and accomplish, even their thoughts can taint what the Most High has planned for you. And that's a very serious thing for me right now because I'm struggling very, very hard. I've been working my butt off for a very long time, and it's been a struggle to finally see the fruits of my labor. And I really do think it's because I'm opening my mouth too much. So I encourage you all, when things start when the puzzle pieces are being put together by the Most High, just be quiet. You never know, and it's always, or at least it seems to be for me in my case, the closest people to you. And it's one of the most frustrating things, especially when you sacrifice so much, and you would hope they understand and comprehend everything, but their actions would say the latter. I don't want to be victim. I'm not victimizing myself. I'm not villainizing myself either. I'm just sharing that with y'all, my testimony, because even with that, I feel like there's still a light at the end of the tunnel for me. But now, I'm going to transition myself and make that 180 and just be quiet and keep walking. So I encourage you all to do the same. In order to do that, you need to be a proper leader. You need to understand that we all have our own lives. We all have our own mission. And at the end of the day, we all have the same goal, and that's very true. And it's not the rewards that we get.
Yes.
It's not the rewards that we get. It's the actual journey itself that is the reward. And I just wanted to leave y'all with that.
Cause look, brother, I'm 50 years old. I've been trying to hush for 45.
That can be dead. I'm such
Boy,
a
my
old
mouth
person.
got me in so much trouble when I was 9 years old. My dad asked me, "Do you have to say everything coming to your mind?" I said, "I'm not supposed to." I ain't get it. And it's gotten me in trouble throughout life. But you said there were 2 things. That was one. What was the other? Did I miss the second?
Yeah, I think so. I think I forgot the first.
I know you had said the first one, it was like you need to learn how to be
Yeah,
quiet.
learn how to be quiet.
I don't think you ever said nothing the second one, because you said
The
two.
2 things
Yeah,
you were
just
trying to do going forward in your life.
Yeah.
Well, that means it wasn't meant for me to say.
It's all good.
I'm gonna leave it at that. Anybody want a prayer request, anything like that?
It's kind of like basic, but really for any and everybody to constantly keep the faith in
How about you
it.
lead us in prayer today, Will?
Hold on. Maybe.
Everybody ready?
Yeah, cause Baton Rouge, y'all that live here,
I know mostly where I stay at, I'm always this way. That's straight down
this
there.
way.
which was right here, where we going, this is east.
That's east.
Yeah,
Everybody ready? First off, all praise to the Most High God. Continue to protect us on our journey, lead us. Continue to search our hearts of all iniquity and corruption, whether we know better and choose not to do better, or we just ignorant in certain areas. Continue to guide us and lead us, not just ourselves, but the people around us. Continue to allow to put in our hearts to be a light in every niche way. You know we're not perfect, but just continue to just give us the strength to endure in these last days, what's going on. Keep the faith and lose all the fear. Amen. Yeah, I will be on.
What you say?
Check and comments.
Brother Larry Young said, this is why the 7-day Sabbath is very important to keep and not the first day Sunday. I think that was in regards to the things we were talking about with the Sabbath. Latoya Jackson said, if they didn't mate with brother and sister, how would they have been fruitful and multiply? Well, that's the point, sis. That's the point. The incest law was not incorporated until Leviticus, and therefore everything that is before that is not a sin. Okay? If there is no law, there is no sin. At that point, there was no law about incest in the book of Genesis, at least at that point, and therefore it wouldn't be any sin. So that's all the comments. I'm going to end today's live session.